Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to this special live edition of Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. We are just 2 days away from the Florida primary, and there are a number of important races on the ballot, including sheriff's races in Miami-Dade and Broward, and a county mayor's race in Miami-Dade where Danielle Levine Cava is up for re-election and hoping to avoid a runoff election in November. We'll also look ahead to November when both marijuana and abortion rights are on the ballot. But I want to get us started by going out to the early voting site at Miami-Dade election headquarters in Doral. Steve Magiri is there for us. Steve, good morning. All right, today is the last day of early voting in both Miami-Dade and Broward. When I looked at the numbers early this week, it didn't seem like a lot of people were taking advantage of early voting or voting by mail. Is that still the case?
Good morning, Jim. It absolutely is. If you really take a look at the number of people that have registered to vote in Miami-Dade County and Broward County, even statewide, you can see that in our two counties here in South Florida, only a fraction of people are really taking advantage of early voting. We've got a full breakdown of the numbers. So let's start out with Miami-Dade County. For mail-in ballots in Miami-Dade County, you can see more Democrats have chosen to mail in their ballots than Republicans or those that are unaffiliated. And for early voting in person, it's a different story. More Republicans voted in person than Democrats or the unaffiliated voters. And now let's head up to Broward County. For mail-in ballots, more Democrats mailed in their votes than the Republicans or the unaffiliated voters. And it was the same for those that voted early in person. Democrats have just sent in more votes in either form in Broward County. Now, back live here, the polling centers have just opened here in Miami-Dade County. It's important to note that the hours are different depending on which county. It runs from 8 to 4 here in Miami-Dade County and 10 to 7 up in Broward County. And in our next half hour, Jim, we're going to have a full breakdown of the voter registration numbers. That's coming up in just a bit. But for now, let's send it back to you.
Thanks, Steve. Joining me now to discuss the primary is, well, we've got the Republican Party chair for Miami-Dade County, Alex Rizo, and we also have Chevron Jones, the Democratic Party chair. He's coming in by Zoom. We caught him in transit. He was trying to get his way to the DNC. You know the Democrats are having a big party in Chicago.
I heard something.
You heard something about that. And so we sort of caught him in transit, and so hopefully we'll be able to get him on. Chev, can you hear us? Well, we'll see. There he is. Good morning, Chevron Jones. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Good to hear from you, Jim, and good to see you, Alex.
All right. Well, let's. I just want to sort of start with, before we turn to election stuff, and I want to talk about some of those numbers and why people aren't really turning out. But I did want to talk about some news that happened this week with Senate President Kathleen Passidomo basically ruling out a special session to deal with the crisis, some people believe, with condo associations because of the laws that were passed post-Surfside requiring condominiums to bring up their reserve funds. As a result, a lot of folks are getting hit with very high, steep assessments to bring up those reserves. The Senate president said there will be no special session. They'll deal with it in regular session. You're hearing from constituents. I know you don't have a lot of condos in your area, Alex, but tell me what you think. Should there be a special session?
No, I don't think so. I agree with Senator Passidomo, and certainly the same thought has been expressed by incoming Speaker Perez, that we should wait. We should let the law actually pass out, go through its motions. Right now, those special assessments, there are no special assessments because of that law. Those would actually start to go in after these inspections go through. Starting next year is when, if there is a case for it, then there's certain parameters within the law that would allow for sometime after 2025. That's when that would happen. So, yeah, there is some concern about it, absolutely, and all of our offices, every single representative, every single senator in Miami-Dade County is getting calls saying, look, we'd like to, have you kind of assess this law and see what's going on. You talked about a timeline. That's the first thing that people talk about. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion during committee weeks and possibly during session about it.
I want to bring Senator Jones in. Senator, I'm sure you're getting some angry phone calls as well to your office about what may be on the horizon. Should there be a special session?
No, I absolutely, this is one thing I think Alex and I would absolutely agree on. I think doing a special session right now, I think it's too early. I think the law just passed. We have to just implement it. We have to wait and ensure that what we implemented, that as it goes through, that we do everything that's needed. So when we do come back, we know what those kinks that need to be created. We knew from the beginning that when we went into this, that there were some things that we're going to have to change. We also realized that we would fall into a situation to where we're going to have different associations feeling this type of heat. But we also realized that we were going to have to come back and make those changes when we come back to into the legislative session. So I agree with the Senate President. I don't think it's the right time to do a special session. I think that we need to wait. We need to make sure that we can take in all the information that's needed so when we come back in March, that we can make those necessary changes and we're not just piecemealing things together.
All right, I want to, Chev, I want to keep you up for a second and sort of talk about, let's turn to the election, the primary. We had a report a couple minutes ago. Numbers are down. I mean, when you look at them, especially compared to 2020 numbers, I was looking at that a little bit more in depth. About half as many people have been taking advantage of early voting or mail-in voting on the Democratic side than they did in 2020. On the Republican side, the Republicans are almost matching their numbers from 2020. I realize some of that is COVID-related. Democrats got used to voting early, got used to doing mail-in voting, but I don't get the sense that there's a lot of excitement about this year's election right now, at least for the primary. Give me your take.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's quite a few things that's at play right now. I think there's voter confusion. I think there's voter apathy. I think there's lack of engagement. I think it's a mixture of quite a few things. And also, to add icing to the cake, I said the legislature knew exactly what they were doing when my colleagues proposed and passed Senate Bill SB 90 and SB 7050. I mean, when you had Senate Bill SB 90, which passed post 2020, which placed restrictions on third-party voter registration efforts, which required Florida ID and Social Security numbers to update registration numbers and things of that nature. And when you're looking at these different things that happen, it's no surprise to me that we're looking at the voter numbers that we're looking at right now. But here's what I will tell you. I think we have today, there's a great deal of souls to the polls that's happening across the county in Miami-Dade County to where we will have a great deal of people who will come out. And I think those numbers will absolutely change. But it doesn't help that the legislature passed such restrictive voting laws in the last two cycles.
On to the idea of the legislature passing restrictive voter ID laws and the rest of it. So go ahead.
Sure. Well, being there along with my colleague, Senator Jones in Tallahassee, I can tell you there's nothing restrictive about it. What it was, what we had to do was actually create a better system to go ahead and vote. Now, we've had a lot of people come into Florida the last few years. We have an uptick in registration of all voters, really. The Democratic Party, not so much. The Republicans, yes, we finally got to that 1 million voter mark above where the Democrats are. And here in Dade County, the Democratic Party has lost 20% over the last 4 years. Nothing that the senator talked about had anything to do with that. We are now in historic territory. The Republican numbers, and I don't know what the last number is after the closeout of the numbers last week, but we were at about 50,000 less than the Democrats. That is amazing. The Democratic Party has lost numbers. The Republican Party has increased numbers. And again, I think that we're even closer than we were back 2 years ago. I think we're going to see a red wave once more in Miami-Dade.
So, Alex, let me stick with you for that because it goes nicely into one of my questions. I realize the county mayor's race is a nonpartisan race, but everyone knows Danielle Levine-Cava is a Democrat and, has visited the White House and all the rest of it and is often cited by President Biden. It doesn't seem like the Republicans, for all the strength that you claim in Miami-Dade County, really put up much of a campaign to try to take her out. Why is that?
Part of that may be because it is a nonpartisan race. We've got a lot of people that are looking at making a selection. Now, on our side, on the Republican side, even though, like you said, it is an MPA race, we have a lot more Republicans running against her. So imagine that's a lot more of a choice that you're going to see. Let's see. We hope that there will be. We think that there will be a runoff later on.
You think there's going to be a runoff?
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Wait a second. Let's get. I hear Chev laughing in the background. So, Chev, do you think there's going to be a runoff in the Cava race?
There would not be a runoff in the Mayor Danielle Levine-Cava race. The mayor has done an exceptionally amazing job. That's why she has this bipartisan support that we're seeing right now. And so I think she'll be fine. But I do want to say, I want to push back just that bit, Jim. on my colleague. Listen, the Republicans, I mean, they're taking this victory lap on the manufactured voter registration lead, but that's all at the expense of 886,000 registered Democratic voters who have been excluded for the role. So this victory lap that the Republicans are taking, I mean, is all a farce, because all of these numbers are not based on the individuals who've been removed from the role, and many of them don't even know that now that their voting registration says inactive, many of them think that they're no longer registered just because of the way that it's worded. So again, there's no victory lap the Republicans should take. If they played by the rules, I promise you we would not see a million voter registration number the victory lap that they're taking right now.
Chev, I want to stay with you. Chev, I want to stay with you for a second and just sort of, Miami-Dade is now transitioning to this, constitutional officer system with partisan races for sheriff, for supervisor of elections, for some of the other seats. Do you think that was a good idea? I mean, I realize you can't go back. It was a constitutional amendment in 2018. I tend to think it was something pushed by the Florida Sheriff's Association because they didn't like that Miami-Dade had its own independent police force as opposed to something that was part of the Sheriff's Association. But do you like this idea of partisan races for election supervisor, for sheriff, for those sort of seats?
Well, listen, I think for the sheriff, Broward County have had an elected sheriff for quite some time. And I know Miami-Dade County is moving into that as so is the entire state. I'm not saying that whether it's a good idea or the bad idea. At the end of the day, when you're dealing with public safety, that should not be a partisan issue. Just like our school board races. Our school board races should not be a partisan issue, although it has turned into partisan because that's just the political climate that we are in right now. And so considering that, you play with the cards that you're dealt. Here's what I will say is that as we are in those constitutional officers who are running, my hope is that they will remember that although you might have this D or this R behind your name, you're dealing with millions of people with the hopes that they don't care what your party is, that they want to make sure that their taxes are done the right way. They want to make sure their children are learning, and they want to make sure that they are able to vote without any restrictions. So my hope is that that people will look at that. I hope that the legislature make no other changes that need to be made when it comes to our constitutional offices. But here's where we are right now.
All right, Chev, let me jump in. So I want to give you a chance to talk about the idea of moving to these partisan races for sheriff, for supervisor of elections. The supervisor of elections one, I'll be honest with you, worries me a little bit. I don't know that running our elections should be in the hands of a partisan. Right? What is your take on what we're doing now in terms of moving forward with these partisan races?
Well, I agree with the people of Miami-Dade County when they voted to have these constitutional offices, number one. Number two, every single one of us that's a public servant comes to the job that we choose to run for, that we've been elected for, with a sense of a compass needle. And it doesn't matter which way, if it's conservative, if it's progressive. In the public sphere, you've got to serve, and you've got to serve well. Now, there's mechanisms in place, and people will see what goes on. So when it comes to, for example, with supervisor of elections, we'll see. If it goes one way or another, and that person is skewing the Department of Elections, the largest in the southeastern United States, one way or another, the people will get to choose every 4 years whether they agree with that person or they disagree with that person.
Unless they've rigged the system so that it can't be ever get voted out. Chev, I'm going to give you the last word since you're about to head to the airport to get on a plane for Chicago. Tell me about how excited are you to have Kamala Harris on the top of the ticket as opposed to Joe Biden right now, and what kind of energy do you think you're going to see in Chicago?
Hey, listen, here's what I would say, that we thank the president. The president did an exceptional job. We look at the economy right now. The economy is the way that it is because of President Biden and his partner in this work, and that's Vice President Kamala Harris. The switch happened. The switch was good for the party. The switch was good for this country. We see the momentum that's happening. You see the Vice President and Governor Walz, who are now traveling the country, letting the people know how they want to maintain in keeping the soul of this nation, as the president has touted over the past few years. I will absolutely say, that what we're seeing right now is monumental. I think that what we're seeing is that people are looking for us to get back to a place to where we are governing, moving away from this MAGA extremism that we're seeing. And that's why the Republican Party are seeing the fall off that they're seeing from their own party. Just yesterday, the vice president had a call with over 70,000 Republicans who said that they are voting for Kamala Harris. This is people who are putting this country over party. And I'm so happy that we're seeing this. And I'll end with this, that it is not by accident that right here in the state of Florida, we have over 20,000 people who have signed up to volunteer. That's not a farce. That is not people who are apathetic to what we've been seeing. That is people who are sick and tired of what the Republicans have been producing here within the state of Florida.
Chev, I gotta cut you. I gotta cut you there. It's okay.
We're excited.
I want to make sure you catch your plane so that you're in Chicago on time. And I'm going to give Alex a chance to come back in the next half hour and say all the reasons why he thinks you're wrong. So there you go. All right, let's take our first break here. When we come back, we will continue our conversation with two of South Florida's best political reporters, the Miami Herald's David Smiley and the Sun Sentinel's Steve Busquet. Stay with us.